It's the shocking video that's become infamous worldwide. A young woman seemingly thrown from a skeleton bridge, plummeting to her death.
There is no rope attached to that person. That is very, very evident in the video.
Now, 3 people are charged with her murder, and the federal government faces a civil lawsuit.
In my personal point of view, everybody involved is responsible for this.
There is footage of Maria Eduarda's death that no investigator has seen, not because it doesn't exist, because someone took it before police arrived. I have to be honest with you. When I first reported on this case, I thought the missing GoPro was a procedural footnote, a camera lost in the case of a horrific fall. I was wrong. It is the center of everything. It is the silent witness that saw what 3 men now charged with homicide claim they cannot remember. It is the reason I have been unable to let this case go. And it is still missing. Here is what we know for certain. On the morning of June 13th, Maria Eduarda Rodrigues de Freitas arrived at the skeleton bridge wearing a yellow wristband.
A city about 90 miles north of São Paulo. Limera is home to what's known as the Ponte do Esqueleto, which translates to the skeleton bridge.
Off-duty nurse Raza Diaz, who was next in line to jump, later told investigators that everyone who rented a GoPro day was given that exact wristband. She saw it on Maria's wrist before the jump. Maria was recording. That camera was with her through every second that mattered. Every safety check that should have happened. Every instruction the instructors gave.
In the case of Maria, that's allegedly not what happened. And I say that based on several things, including witness testimony. Igor Deans was there at the time of Maria's jump and told Brazilian news outlet G1, quote, "The moment it all happened, you could hear the people in the back asking, 'Where's the rope?'"
Every scream that followed.
Ai, meu Deus do céu!
We stopped the video mid-air so you don't see the horror of what happens next. But Maria plummets the equivalent of 13 stories to the ground as men literally toss her off the side of a bridge. And the position Maria was in is worth noting. This was a Superman-type pose where the workers would carry the person above their heads.
The Brazilian civil police released a formal statement calling the camera an essential element for reconstructing what happened. They said it will show whether Maria was aware she had no rope, whether anyone around her was aware.
Who was the crazy person who let me jump off a bridge? Well, the answer to that is allegedly 6 people. 3 have been arrested but not charged, so their names haven't been released, but 3 more have been charged. They include 27-year-old Vitor G. Freitas Gonçalves, 32-year-old Luis Felipe Feliciano Igoroff, and 42-year-old Maicon Fernandes Sintra. According to NBC News, all 3 men were jumping instructors the day Maria fell. They later reportedly told investigators that Maria wasn't hooked up to any ropes, but said they didn't remember whose job it was to double-check her safety equipment.
This is not a lost gadget. This is the only objective witness to a death that investigators are still trying to classify. And its disappearance is not necessarily an accident of physics. It may be a choice. Let me walk you through what the evidence tells us about that possibility. When Maria's body struck the riverbed 130 feet below, Raza Diaz ran to her immediately. She found Maria breathing heavily with a weak pulse. She stayed with her, talking to her, trying to keep her alive until emergency responders arrived at 9:55 that morning.
Raza was next in line to jump when Maria fell to the ground. So she rushed to Maria's side where she found her breathing heavily with a very weak pulse. Raza told the news outlet Brut she comforted Maria, saying, quote, "I even talked to her. I have a habit of joking and saying, 'Nobody dies on my shift.' And I told her, 'Duda, nobody dies on my shift,' even though I wasn't on my shift there." Even with Raza's heroic efforts, it was too late. Emergency responders arrived on the scene at about 9:55 a.m., at which point Maria was pronounced dead.
But something else was happening in those same frantic minutes. According to witness testimony gathered by investigators, one of the men operating the jump was at the bottom of the bridge. He approached Maria's body.
According to Raza, everyone who rented a GoPro that day was given a yellow wristband. She noticed Maria had a wristband, meaning she was reportedly wearing a camera at the time of her jump. However, investigators still have yet to find the camera, meaning it's either missing or was purposely removed from Maria's body after the fall.
And a witness says they saw him pick the camera up off of her, not check her airway, not assist the nurse. Pick up the camera. That man is now among those facing allegations connected to obstruction and the disappearance of evidence.
There were already arrested is the one that was at the bottom of the bridge, which is accused of hiding the camera, which wasn't found yet. But a witness says that they saw him pick up the camera from the body.
The GoPro has not been recovered. Think about what that sequence asks you to consider. In the worst moment of his life, with a young woman dying on the rocks in front of him, if these allegations hold up, his first instinct was to secure a piece of recording equipment and make it disappear. We have a name for that in the law. It is called consciousness of guilt. It is the observable behavior of someone who knows that what just happened will not survive scrutiny. And if the allegations are accurate, the missing camera is not just a mystery. It is a motive. Now, I want you to do something with me. Because this is the point in the investigation where your instincts matter. Look at the official statements from the 3 instructors charged in connection with Maria's death. They told police that Maria was not connected to any rope. They admitted that, but they also said they do not remember whose job it was to double-check her safety equipment. Not one of them can identify the person responsible for the single most important step in the entire operation. Now place that alongside the witness account of the camera being removed. Who benefits from the disappearance of a recording that would have shown exactly who said what in the seconds before Maria was lifted into that Superman pose and thrown? I want you to answer that question in the comments. Be specific. I read every single one. A defense attorney will offer you an alternative explanation. They will say the camera was lost in the fall, that it bounced into the underbrush, that 130 feet of impact could have torn it from her body and buried it. They will say the man at the bottom of the bridge was in shock, that he was collecting her belongings out of some misguided instinct to help, not to hide. And I have considered that. Experts on this case have even cautioned that fleeing a scene or acting strangely in the aftermath of a tragedy is not automatically proof of guilt.
There's also reports that they fled the scene after Maria fell to her death, but experts say it may not be the traditional consciousness of guilt.
I understand that, of course, they knew what happened was a crime, but I don't think that the fact that they ran away means they were guilty of something or that they planned, because
Right.
they didn't do it and run away rightly as it was planned. They just ran away.
But here is why the alternative explanation has real trouble holding up. The yellow wristband was still on Maria's wrist. The nurse saw it. The camera was mounted in a way designed to stay attached during extreme sports. If impact had dislodged it, search efforts would likely have turned it up somewhere in the debris field. They have not. And when investigators began looking specifically for this piece of evidence, they came up empty. There is a forensic term you need to understand right now. Chain of custody. It is the documented and unbroken record of every person who handles a piece of evidence from the moment it is collected. If that chain breaks, the evidence can become legally unusable or, in this case, impossible to even locate. The GoPro's chain of custody never started. It was severed, allegedly, before the first officer knelt beside her body. If that allegation is proven true, it would not be bad luck.
It's Law and Crime's very own Jesse Weber, host of Sidebar. Jesse, thank you so much for coming on Scandal. It's great to see you today.
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me back. I loved it. I think I've been on, 2 times before? I guess
2 or 3, yeah.
Is this the trifecta?
Lucky number 3.
It would be the elimination of a witness.
Now, what's really alarming about it is there's a rope, right, that you see in the video. I don't know if that's the rope per se, but anybody watching her being lifted in that Superman pose and being, allegedly thrown off the platform, you can tell she's not connected to anything. And immediately after, there's you hear it on tape, like, guys, the rope, or somebody says the rope's not connected. It's like, how does something like that happen where if you take what I believe one of the defense attorneys says they've done a number of these jumps, they're professionals, how do you not have a checklist? How do you miss that? Now, there might be something they say, oh, they were distracted, people were filming them, whatever it may be. It's not an excuse, because that's the number one thing. It's the number one thing. Is she connected? And what makes it even more disturbing is not only the allegations that they're facing and not only what happened to her, but there's the claim afterwards that there was a cover-up. 2 of them allegedly tried to run away. There's missing evidence. It's just a really, really disturbing case.
Maria's mother released a statement after her daughter was buried the following day. She said the family needs every responsibility rigorously determined, and everyone involved held answerable for their actions and omissions. The camera would have helped answer what those omissions were. It would have recorded the checklist that was never completed.
Free falling. And that kind of leads into my next question here, the allegation of a cover up here. There have been reports that Maria went down wearing a body cam, or a camera that she had on her. She even had this wristband that indicates she had a body cam. And yet the camera has not been recovered. Yep. It seems that there are some reports that maybe it was stolen or removed from the scene. What do you think about this, the tampering with evidence allegation?
So there's two aspects of it, right? So after this happens, there's the allegation that two of the defendants ran away into a wooded area before they were apprehended. We call that in the law consciousness of guilt. Number two, there's been 3 more arrests of 3 people that were involved in this, and it's based on one of the allegations of obstruction. So there's one allegation that there was the deletion of evidence, digital evidence, what that may be. I've heard reports that it possibly their social media accounts of the company.
The harnesses nobody double-checked. The safety line nobody attached. And it would have recorded the conversations that happened after the crowd started screaming about the rope.
There was at least, I think, one witness who came forward and said they saw the camera being removed. Obviously very alarming. We have gotten this reporting that when these 3 arrests happened, the additional arrests, there have been search warrants for to try to locate where this camera is. Was it destroyed? Was it removed? Where is it? We don't really know. But it is, if the allegations are true, it's an important piece of evidence because A, it will not only document the timeline, but I'm curious if it picked up any communications, any conversations about the rope being secured or not. And I think that's going to be really key, aside from the fact that, you know, my gosh, how unbelievably devastating would it be to hear that footage and see that footage of, you know, her fall. I mean, that's just so unthinkable and so terrifying. But it's really important, what did it capture before, the moments, the minutes, the seconds before she was thrown off that platform. So it's a key piece of evidence that they need to find in this case. And when I first reported it and I said, wait a minute, the GoPro's missing, I was like, how did you not find it? It must be in the area.
That is what someone may not have wanted the world to see.
Yeah, so you talked about consciousness of guilt here, which, if this is true, if the people actually did run and grab this camera and take it away, that to me does scream consciousness of guilt, because they're like, okay, something clearly went wrong here. I want to delete this evidence. I want to get rid of it, remove it from the scene completely. But it kind of goes into my next question too, because maybe we have consciousness of guilt based on these allegations, but do we have intent here? Do we have mens rea? Because the charges here include murder, but this to me seems more like negligence. What are your thoughts on that half of it?
The investigation in Brazil is active. Prosecutors have an initial 45-day window extendable to build their case. They are analyzing digital evidence, deleted social media accounts, and the pattern of how this unlicensed group had operated for months before Maria ever set foot on that bridge. The missing camera remains a top priority, and I will not pretend to know whether it will be found. But I know what it represents. It represents the answer that 3 men say they cannot give. It represents the answer to the one question no one in that group has been willing to answer under oath. Who was supposed to check the rope? Maria deserved that check. Her family deserves that answer. And we deserve to see a case built on evidence, not on memory gaps and missing devices. Subscribe with me on this. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Because the moment that camera surfaces, you will hear it here first. Not from a news cycle that moves on. From people who can tracking every detail since the day the video went viral. For Maria, for the truth.